And hello, welcome. Welcome. Let me get some light, a little more light on you. It's a little darker this morning. Um, yeah, I gotta get some stuff done today. Woo, there's some light. All right, welcome, guys. Welcome back to the Daily Edge. I'm your host, Andrew, and we're gonna be going over some news, get some motivation in us, and get us going for the rest of our day. Kind of been chopping up the time that I'm jumping on here. Anybody would like a certain time or certain news topics, just let me know. Put it in the comments, and I will try to keep up to what you guys want to hear and when you want to hear it. But moving forward, let's jump into the news. What's going on worldwide?
Here is the freshest update of the top world news headlines for your segment. World News Update, Ukraine peace talks progress. Reports indicate that Ukraine's government has agreed to the core terms of a U.S. brokered peace proposal to end the conflict with Russia. An official stated only minor details need to be settled, and President Zelensky may travel to Washington to finalize the agreement soon. However, European leaders are urging caution and seeking counterproposals to address concerns about Russian demands. Middle East escalation. The conflict has escalated with an Israeli airstrike in Beirut, Lebanon, reportedly killing the Hezbollah chief of staff. This represents a significant and recent strike on a major figure in the group. Volcanic eruption in Ethiopia. The Haile Gubi volcano in Ethiopia has erupted for the first time in an estimated 12,000 years. The event is causing disruptions, including the diversion of some international flights. U.S. pressure on Venezuela. The U.S. continues its campaign against Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. While some reports suggest President Trump plans to speak directly with Maduro, several international airlines have suspended flights to the country following a recent U.S. safety warning. Border tensions. Afghanistan's Taliban government claims that a late-night Pakistani airstrike in the Khost province killed 10 civilians, including 9 children, escalating border tensions between the two neighbors. Which one of these stories would you like to cover first? Or would you like to hear about another topic?
Anybody interested in any of that? Middle East, volcano? How bad is the volcano eruption?
That's a great question, as the impact of the Haile Gubi volcano eruption is being felt thousands of miles away. Even though it's in a very remote area of Ethiopia, the eruption is considered a significant event because the volcano had been dormant for an estimated 12,000 years. Here's a breakdown of the severity. Primary impact, air travel disruption. Massive ash cloud. The eruption sent a huge column of ash and sulfur dioxide soaring up to 49,000 feet, 15 kilometers, into the atmosphere, which is the altitude where international planes fly. Global spread. High altitude winds have carried the ash cloud across the Red Sea, over the Arabian Peninsula, and into Yemen, Oman, Pakistan, and India, causing major concern for aviation authorities. Flight operations affected. Numerous international flights, including those to the Middle East and some in India, have been canceled, delayed, or rerouted as a safety precaution. Volcanic ash can severely damage jet engines. Local impact in Ethiopia. Remote location. The volcano is in the Afar region, which is sparsely populated. No casualties have been reported so far. Livelihood threat. The nearby village of Afdera was blanketed in ash. Local administrators fear the ash will have a severe economic impact on livestock herders, as animals have little to graze on with the land covered. Ground level health risk. Low risk. Fortunately, the ash cloud is traveling at very high altitudes. Experts state that for the distant countries it's passing over, the risk of significant ashfall or ground level health impact is minimal. At most, some people may notice hazy skies or a slight dimming of the sun. In summary, the eruption is severe in terms of its geological rarity and its disruption to air traffic across a huge international region, but the immediate threat to human life on the ground has been contained due to its remote location. Would you like the latest update on the situation in the Middle East next? Or another story?
Yeah, what's your updates on the Middle East? What's going on there?
The situation in the Middle East has seen a significant escalation, primarily centered on the strike in Beirut, Lebanon, and ongoing tensions around the ceasefire in Gaza. Here are the key updates. Strike on Hezbollah leader in Beirut. Targeted assassination. Israel confirmed it conducted an airstrike in the densely populated Heret Hreik neighborhood of Beirut, a major Hezbollah stronghold. Casualty confirmed. The strike killed Haytham Ali Tabatabai, who Israel identified as Hezbollah's chief of staff, or de facto chief of staff. He was a highly senior military official responsible for the group's military buildup and rearmament efforts. Hezbollah has also confirmed his death. Escalation warning. Hezbollah officials have stated that the attack, which also killed 4 other operatives and wounded at least 28 people, crossed a new red line, suggesting the potential for further retaliation and a broader conflict. Geographic shift. This is notable because the strike was a deep hit inside Beirut, moving the active conflict well beyond the immediate Israel-Lebanon border area. Ceasefire tensions in Gaza. Violations and casualties. Despite the formal ceasefire, Israeli airstrikes in Gaza have continued, resulting in civilian casualties. Recent attacks, including strikes on tents sheltering displaced people, have killed dozens, with officials in Gaza reporting over 300 deaths since the ceasefire was put in place. Accusations. Both Israel and Hamas have repeatedly accused the other side of violating the terms of the agreement. In short, the killing of a senior Hezbollah leader in the heart of Beirut is the most dramatic recent event and marks a serious escalation in tensions between Israel and Hezbollah, which could impact the stability of the entire region. Would you like to move on to the Ukraine peace talks update or the situation with Venezuela? The Ukraine peace talks update or the situation with Venezuela?
What do we got for local? I'm not local, national. What do we got nationally?
You've got it. Here is the freshest update on the top stories and developments in the United States right now. National news update, politics and judicial. Judge tosses charges against Trump critics. A federal judge has dismissed the criminal cases brought against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James.
Okay.
The judge ruled that the prosecutor installed to handle the cases, a White House aide named Lindsay Halligan, was unlawfully appointed. Both Comey and James praised the decision, calling the cases politically motivated. Pentagon investigates Senator Kelly. The Pentagon has announced it is investigating Democratic Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona for potential breaches of military law. This follows a video where Kelly, a retired Navy pilot and astronaut, joined other lawmakers in reminding U.S. troops they have the right to refuse unlawful orders. The White House has supported the investigation. ACA subsidies and healthcare fix. The White House is circulating a plan to extend the Affordable Care Act, ACA, subsidies that are set to expire, as President Trump continues to pledge a healthcare fix. The government shutdown, which ended earlier this month, had centered partly around the expiring ACA subsidies. Economy and affordability. High cost of living. Americans are still reporting pain from the high cost of living. Consumer sentiment dropped to a near record low in November, with a large majority of respondents expressing a negative view of the economy and disapproving of the administration's handling of inflation. Retail sales. U.S. retail sales rose only modestly in September, suggesting that consumers are pulling back on spending after months of splurging. Other major national stories. Tulsa race massacre survivor dies. Viola Ford Fletcher, one of the last known living survivors of the 1921 Tulsa race massacre, has died at the age of 111.
Oh, damn.
Immigration arrests. Reports indicate that immigration agents are making arrests of migrants at mandatory court check-ins, raising concerns about a deportation trap. Which national story should we dive into deeper for your segment?
Let's get into the immigration arrests. I know it's a big topic these days, immigration.
That's an important and sensitive story to cover.
Yes.
The report suggests that U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, is employing a strategy that lawyers and advocates are calling a ** deportation trap. Here are the key details on the reported immigration arrests. The deportation trap. Targeting compliance. The main issue is that ICE agents are reportedly making arrests when non-citizens show up for mandatory appointments with government agencies, such as routine check-ins, scheduled interviews for green cards, or required immigration court hearings. Focus of arrests. Lawyers and advocates are reporting arrests of individuals who have already gone through extensive background checks and may be in the final stages of the legal process to obtain permanent residency. Examples include the wife of a U.S. Navy veteran and the parents of children who are then sent into the shelter system. Impact on trust. Immigration lawyers argue that these arrests target people who are complying with the law and are actively participating in their legal processes. This tactic severely undermines trust in the immigration system and deters people from attending mandatory appointments, which can then put them in further legal jeopardy. Worst of the worst claim. Critics point out that, contrary to the administration's stated policy of targeting only the worst of the worst, many of those arrested at these check-ins and appointments have no violent criminal history. The practice is being seen as a new and aggressive escalation in immigration enforcement tactics, leading to increased fear and confusion within immigrant communities. Would you prefer to switch gears to another national story, such as the judge tossing the politically charged criminal cases, or return to world news?
No, let's hear more about the Somali Muslim, not whatever Trump did, took away their rights to be here for their war-torn country, and is ICE going to start rounding them up? I don't know if that makes sense what I just said, but
That's a major development, particularly in Minnesota, which is home to the largest Somali community in the U.S. Your question connects directly to the recent news and the broader issue of ICE arrests at check-ins. Here is a summary of the current situation regarding the Temporary Protected Status, TPS, for Somalis and the associated fear of ICE roundups. Threat to end Temporary Protected Status, TPS. The announcement, the central issue, is President Trump's recent announcement that he is moving to end temporary protected status for Somalis living in Minnesota immediately. What is TPS? TPS is a legal temporary status granted by the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, to nationals of countries facing conditions like armed conflict, which Somalia has faced since 1991, natural disasters, or other extraordinary circumstances, making it unsafe for them to return. Scope. While the announcement caused widespread alarm in the entire Somali community in Minnesota, it's important to note that the TPS status applies only to a small fraction of the overall Somali population, estimated to be around 700 people nationwide, many of whom are in Minnesota. The vast majority of Somalis in the U.S. are either citizens or legal permanent residents. Legal uncertainty.
okay.
Immigration experts and Minnesota officials are challenging the announcement, arguing that the president cannot unilaterally end TPS for just one state or immediately. The law requires the DHS secretary to follow a formal process,
Is it
which
really only
includes publishing a
700?
notice and waiting at least 60 days before the termination takes effect. Fear of ICE roundups? Community panic. The announcement, coupled with the national news of ICE arresting people at court check-ins, has caused panic and real fear among the Somali community in Minnesota, even for those who are legal residents. The connection. Immigration attorneys and advocates warn that if TPS is successfully revoked, the individuals who lose that protection will be more vulnerable to deportation. These individuals are the ones who are most likely to be targeted by ICE at mandatory check-ins, interviews, or court dates, which is the deportation trap tactic you asked about earlier. Advocates' view, community leaders are calling the move a political attack driven by hateful rhetoric, and they are planning legal challenges to block the decision, citing that it would tear families apart and send people back to a country where the terrorist group Al-Shabaab remains active. In short, the threat to end TPS is not an immediate deportation order for everyone, but it creates a legal path that dramatically increases the risk of being detained and deported for those specific individuals. A risk now made more credible by the reported ICE tactics of arresting people at their government appointments. Would you like to move on to the final news?
So isn't there something big in not Montana? What other? Don't even wait for me to get my thought out. That's a great idea. Go to China space. No, what I'm trying to, isn't there another state that has a lot of Somalis that they're protesting about?
That's correct. There have been a few recent high-profile tamale protests or controversies related to vendors and food laws in different states.
Not tamale, Somali. Not tamale. There we go. First it said not.
The state you are likely thinking of is Minnesota, which is home to the largest Somali community in the United States. While the protests are not specifically over
wasn't there protests in like Michigan or something? Muslim protests?
That's an interesting shift. While Michigan is home to a large and politically active Arab and Muslim American community, particularly in Dearborn, the high-profile controversies you might be remembering relate more to anti-Islam protests and local political tensions, rather than Somali food specifically. Here is a quick breakdown. 1. Dearborn, Michigan, anti-Islam protests, the protests. There have been recent high-profile clashes and demonstrations in Dearborn between anti-Muslim protesters, often from outside the city, and local residents defending their faith and community. The context. These often stem from false claims like the existence of Sharia law in the city. and include offensive actions like threatening to burn religious texts and using pork products to taunt counter-protesters. The connection to food. This is not about food laws, but rather a clash over religious and cultural identity in a city with a very high percentage of Muslim residents. 2. Minnesota, Somali community, and food fraud. The primary state that has been in the national news regarding the Somali community and controversies tied to food/money remains Minnesota. Controversy. The $250 million feeding our future fraud scheme involved dozens of defendants, mostly from the Somali community, who allegedly exploited a federal child nutrition program. While the fraud was about money laundering through nonprofits, the funds were ostensibly for meals/food services, linking it to the food concept. Conclusion. If you're thinking of a controversy about food sales/small businesses, like the original tamale question, it's likely Arizona or Colorado. If you're thinking...
No, I was talking about the Michigan shit that was going on. So Somalis are Muslim as well?
That makes a lot of sense. You've combined two distinct but highly controversial public issues that have happened in the U.S. recently. 1. The protests and regulations over tamales, homemade food vending, primarily in states like Arizona and Colorado. 2. The protests and political tensions involving the large Muslim Arab American community in Michigan, specifically Dearborn. The Michigan controversy you are likely recall.
No, actually, my question was the Somalis in Minnesota, are they Muslim? I don't know. I think they are.
That is a very specific and insightful question, as it connects the traditional dish, tamales, with the large Somali...
Not tamales. Somalis. Somalians. Not tamales. Somalians. God damn.
It sounds like you were clarifying that you were referring to Somalis, people from Somalia or of Somali descent, and not tamales, a Latin American dish. How can I help you with information regarding Somalis or Somalia?
Are the people from Somalia...
Yes, the Somali people are primarily native to the region known as the Horn of Africa, which includes the country of Somalia. They are an ethnic group that shares a common ancestry, culture, and language, Somali. While the largest concentration is in Somalia, significant populations also reside in neighboring countries, including Ethiopia, Ogaden region, Kenya, northeastern province, Djibouti. Would you like to know more about the culture or history of the Somali people?
Yeah, are they Muslim?
Yes, the overwhelming majority of the Somali people are Muslim. Predominant religion. Over 99% of the population in Somalia adheres to Sunni Islam. Official status. Islam is the state religion of the Federal Republic of Somalia, and all legislation must comply with the general principles of Sharia, Islamic law. Historical context. Islam arrived in the region very early on, shortly after its start in the 7th century, making Somalis one of the first non-Arab groups to convert. Would you be interested in learning about other aspects of Somali culture, like their language or traditional dress?
Not at this time. Let's go to local news. What do we got locally?
I'd be happy to share the latest local news for Fairmont, Minnesota, based on current reports. Recent local news highlights. Teacher of the Year. Chris Engelby was named the 2025 Teacher of the Year after 36 years with the Fairmont Area School District. Health insurance costs. Local agents report that residents heading into next year will likely face fewer options and higher costs for health insurance. Lakes Management. The Lakes Management Committee continued discussions on ways to combat curlyleaf pondweed, CLP, and reviewed an inspection of the George Lake Dam. Community Center funds. The City Council began preliminary conversations on how to reallocate the $7.5 million in local option sales tax, lost T, funds that had been collected for the Fairmont Community Center project, which is no longer moving forward. Upcoming events and notes. Festive preparations downtown Fairmont is reportedly getting decked out for the holiday season in preparation for the annual Glows Parade. City meetings. A City Council meeting is scheduled for today, November 25th, 2025. Is there a specific topic in the local news that you'd like me to look into?
What is the city meeting about? The city, duh.
The Fairmont City Council typically meets on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month. Since today is a Tuesday, November 25th, 2025, the council is scheduled to hold both a work session and a regular city council meeting. While the full agenda packet would provide all the details based on recent local reporting, key topics often include community center funds, further discussions on the reallocation or next steps for the $7.5 million collected for the now canceled community center project. City administrator search. This has been an ongoing issue, and the council may address any updates on the final selection or administrative discussions. Routine city business. Approving minutes, paying bills, and hearing reports from city staff and departments. Would you like me to see if I can find a direct link to the full agenda?
No, that's all right. What do we got for our 7-day forecast?
Here is the 7-day weather forecast for Fairmont, Minnesota.
All right. So today, high 45. What do we got for snow showers likely? Tomorrow, high 26. High 26, yuck. Mostly cloudy. Then we got a high of 27, mostly cloudy. Then we're on to Friday, high of 26 again. Cloudy and light snow likely. Saturday and Sunday. Saturday 24, Sunday 13. Partly sunny, turning clear. Then we got next Monday. Squirrel. There's a squirrel outside. Next Monday we got the high of 14. So we're really dropping them temperatures here real quick. Like, I think the sun went down in Alaska or whatever and won't be back up until January 22nd. Going off from memory there. All right. Well, let's do a little recap of what we went through and give us some motivation for the week, for the day, for the year, for our lives.
That's a great idea. We'll start with a quick recap and then transition into some layered motivation.
Okay.
Conversation recap. We covered a diverse range of topics, starting with cultural context and ending with local information. Somali people. You clarified your interest in the Somali people, not tamales, confirming they are primarily native to the Horn of Africa, including Somalia, and are overwhelmingly Sunni Muslim, over 99%. Local news, Fairmont, MN. We discussed the Teacher of the Year award, rising health insurance costs, ongoing lakes management discussions, and the reallocation of the $7.5 million in funds from the canceled community center project. Weather forecast. We reviewed the 7-day forecast, noting the significant temperature drop with highs falling into the teens and lows approaching or falling below zero by the weekend, bringing winter snow conditions. Motivation from day to life. For the day, Tuesday, November 25th, the weather is changing quickly. Today is about preparation and clarity. Take a moment to clear the snow, clear your thoughts, and focus on the single most important task. You don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. Martin Luther King Jr. For the week. This week is about adaptation and intention. Just as the City Council is adapting to reallocate $7.5 million, focus on the resources and energy you have and apply them intentionally to the next small goal. A champion is afraid of losing. Everyone else is afraid of winning. Billie Jean King. For the year and your life, your motivation comes from growth and clarity of vision. Remember that every conversation, every question, and every new piece of information you seek, like the history of Somalia or new local developments, expands your world. Never stop seeking to understand the world.
Never.
And your place in it. The purpose of our lives is to be happy and useful. Dalai Lama, what area of your life would you like to focus on next?
I think that is it, my friend. Here's some words of motivation and just thought, really. Excuse me. You don't have to see the whole staircase just to take the first step. If you can kind of see that first step, get your foot down. Martin Luther King said that. You don't have to see the whole staircase just to take the first step. A champion is afraid of losing. Everyone else is afraid of winning. That makes sense if you think about it. A lot of people are just scared to take that first step. You know, you don't have to see the whole staircase, but you got to take that first step. A champion is afraid of losing. Everyone else is afraid of winning. Billie Jean King. And last but not least, the purpose of our lives is to be happy and useful. Dalai Lama. Be happy and useful. Figure out something out there that makes you useful and rock it. All right, that's all I got for today, guys. Thanks for joining. Like I said, comments. Let me know what you guys want to learn. Let me know what you guys want to hear. You're from a different country, let me know. I'll look into some of that news. But until tomorrow, guys.